Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. I'm your host, the Fellow KGB. You can follow me on Twitter at the Fellow KGB, and it is Thursday night. We got a really fun game tonight. Patriots and the Rams, a rematch of the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago. We're going to be getting into my start-sit column. We have tonight's schedule listed right above me here. I'm going to be going over those games. I'll answer a question from the chat room in between each game there, and then we will open it up for questions at the end. So that's going to be the formula, I think, going forward. But yeah, again, it's Thursday night, 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time, December 10th. We're going over start sits. So let's take a look at here. We're looking at the fantasyfellowship.com. The link is in the YouTube description below. And we're going to start here with the noon games. We got the Houston Texans and the Chicago Bears. There was some COVID news in this. I think the Chicago Bears shut their facilities down today, so we're going to be watching the news tomorrow. If they can get through Saturday, Sunday without any positive tests, this game's likely going to go on as planned. But if there's some problems tomorrow or Saturday, we'll have to kind of adjust our schedules there. So for now, Texans at Chicago Bears. Chicago, they're on a pretty big losing streak right now. The Texans playing some frustrated football, but Deshaun Watson's still going to be pretty healthy for us. So I do think we are going to see let's take a first. We'll just look at the practice reports for both sides. I think both teams are relatively healthy. I was a little nervous about Brandon Cooks here, but as far as Brandon Cooks, he was limited today. He was limited yesterday. Questionable with the foot. He's going to probably be trending towards playing. Not sure what was up with Kiki Cutie here. Full practicing today, limited yesterday. He's probably the better play between Kiki and Cooks. So I do like that option there, especially if you got him off the waiver wire. David Johnson looks like he just had a day off here. Duke Johnson, illness. We'll monitor that here. If Duke's going to be out, we're going to like David quite a bit in this one for volume standpoint there. But yeah, overall pretty healthy on the Houston side. And then as far as the Chicago Bears, I'm looking here. Nobody's been ruled out, which is a good news here. Allen Robinson, limited both days, Wednesday and Thursday, with a knee injury. And then Darnell Mooney looks like he just missed with a personal. I'm not sure what's going on here, but we'll monitor that. And then, yeah, pretty decent here on both sides of the ball. Just looking quickly at the fantasy points allowed here, we got the Texans with 2 green matchups. The Bears, their defense is still stingy, but I mean, we just saw the Packers and the Lions have a pretty good day against them in the past 2 weeks here. So I'm not overly concerned about the Bears defense with the Houston offensive weapons here, but there's really not a lot of Houston weapons that we want to make sure we dive into here. The Bears, we do see that they do a lot of good tight end points, but I don't know, Jordan Akins, Darren Fells, can we really trust that first round of the playoffs here? I'm a little bit nervous about that. So we'll see there. And then on the Houston side, they are one of the worst teams against the run. So this is a big David Montgomery spot here. Feel really good about that. Texans also allow a decent amount of wide receiver points. We know Bradley Roby's been suspended for his PED the rest of the year. So this should be a really good spot for Allen Robinson and maybe Mitch Trubisky. You see the Texans here are 20th in total points per game here. So just looking at the start-sit charts, I do have Deshaun Watson still as a quarterback 1. I think he's still a top 5, top 10 quarterback. We saw Matt Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, again, the last 2 games have some pretty nice days here. I do like Kiki Cutie as the best receiver in this one. We did see last week Kiki Cutie had 9 targets, 8 catches, and I think it was 141 yards. So a really big game out of him. So if you got Kiki Cutie, you're probably starting him in this one. Again, 9 targets, 8 catches, 141 yards. So a really good game here from our guy, Kiki Cutie. We'll see about Brandon Cooks. Again, he's dealing with, I think it was a knee injury, and he also had a foot injury or something like that. So he's questionable, but he's probably going to play. But again, he's a little banged up there. David Johnson, I think he's the one guy here that has the best chance to score a touchdown. So I could see him as a low-end RB2 flex play. And then if Brandon Cooks is going to play, you probably want to try to get him in your lineup. I don't feel great about it. I might break ties over somebody else. So if you guys have questions on Brandon Cooks start sits, we can look at that later. Definitely not relying on either defense in this one. I think both offenses could have a pretty good option here. And then Duke Johnson, Jordan Akins, Chad Hansen, Darren Fells. I'm not really relying on any of these pieces here. I think it's Watson, Kiki, that's the connection I feel the best about. And then David and Cooks are kind of flex options there. So looking at the Chicago Bears side, I think Trubisky, he's a fringe quarterback 1. I feel better about him in super flex leagues. I'm not gonna love him in there. But David Montgomery and Allen Robinson, these are really the only must starts here. I don't feel comfortable with the defense. Mooney, he's been missing practice. Can't trust Miller. Cole Kmet actually coming off a really good game. I would be interested to see if he has another good game here, but nothing for me for fantasy. So Texans, Bears, relatively pretty easy fantasy evaluation there. So before we get to the Bengals and the Cowboys, let me just check the comments here. We'll start with Harris. What's going on, man? We're going to pick 3. Christian McCaffrey, David Montgomery, Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook, and Derrick Henry standard. Standard league. It sounds like Christian McCaffrey's not going to play. I'm pretty nervous about him missing practice today, so I'm going to rule him out. If he plays, sure, you'll play him. I think easiest, but we just talked about David Montgomery here, and I think Montgomery's got he's got one of the best matchups. David Montgomery and Aaron Jones have the two best matchups in fantasy football this weekend for the running back. So I think I'm going to go with that. And then the Derrick Henry against Jacksonville, that's also really good there too. From an offensive standpoint, I don't really like the Bears offense. It's a really good matchup for Montgomery. So I get it if you want to go Henry and Aaron Jones. I'm not doing Dalvin Cook against Tampa Bay. I think for the three there, it's going to be Montgomery, Jones, and Derrick Henry there. So that's a pretty easy one there for me real quick. And then before we get to the Bengals, let me just answer one more question here. Bench 1 PPR, Gaskin, Kamara, Swift, Jefferson, Thielen, and D-Hop. So I'm making sure I'm getting my Vikings receivers in there for sure. Jefferson and Thielen are playing really good football right now. I don't really want to bench Alvin Kamara. That's a really good game script for him going up against the Eagles. We just saw Aaron Jones have a pretty nice fantasy day there. He did have the one big touchdown at the end, but Kamara can do that. So I like Kamara. I like Gaskin. And then I'm probably going to go DeAndre Hopkins over DeAndre Swift. I do like Swift's potential against Green Bay, but it's also his first game back. He hasn't played the last 2-3 weeks. So I do think I'm curious about his snap counts. And usually when you see, especially a rookie, I just don't know if they're going to give him everything he's got right away. So I think that's the one guy I'm most questionable about there. So we'll get to some more questions after we cover this Cowboys and the Bengals game. This one actually could be really juicy for fantasy football here. So I just want to open up the practice reports real quick on these guys. So Dallas, nothing really to note here. Cameron Irvin, offensive lineman, questionable. Ezekiel Elliott, they're probably just kind of keeping him. He said he had a calf bruise, nothing really concerning there. So I think Dallas is going to be in good shape here. And then Cincinnati, a little bit lengthier report. Nobody's been ruled out. T. Higgins, questionable with a hamstring. I like T. Higgins. If he's going to be limited with a hamstring, that might make me a little less optimistic to play him. I think if you guys have options in better offenses and better quarterback situations, I think I'd lean over that. Drew Sample, interesting non-injury here. He should be good to go. And then looks like Brandon Allen's practicing in full, so I think he's going to be starting again in this one. So really a simple evaluation for both practice reports. And then looking at the fantasy points allowed here, you got the Cowboys, really good green side here. The Bengals, they're not great, but again, they're not like a bright green or a bright red. So I do think the Cowboys offense can take advantage here. Really poor the Bengals are against the tight end here. So I do like Dalton Schultz as a tight end one streamer. Cowboys, the only thing that they limit here is the tight end points, but points can be had against them, all the rest there. So what are we going to do here? I'm not using any quarterback in standard leagues. These guys are both quarterback twos. You're going to get Ezekiel Elliott. If there's one matchup for Ezekiel Elliott to have a really good game, I think it's this one. So we're starting Ezekiel Elliott. We're going to monitor that little calf bruise, but I think he's going to be quite all right there. Amari Cooper, not leaving our lineup, he's in for sure. I thought CeeDee Lamb, he hit double digits in PPR leagues. If you play in PPR, I do think CeeDee Lamb does have like a 10-point floor. I don't feel great about it. If I'm starting anyone from the Cowboys, it's just Zeke and Cooper, and then Schultz just because the tight end position's kind of whatever. So I do like these pieces here. Michael Gallup had a good game the other night against the Ravens, so he could be a what the heck flex here. I think he had like 11 targets last on the other night there too. So these guys, I don't feel great about it, but I could see them having a decent game. They're just a little bit risky there. I have a maybe for the Cowboys defense. I'm going to change that to no. I just don't want to bet on any defense in this game. And then with Tony Pollard, he might be like a sneaky guy to score in this one, but nothing I feel great about there. On the Bengals side, I don't really feel great about anything either. Brandon Allen, just a quarterback too in Superflex leagues. Giovanni Bernard, man, what do we do with Gio? Are we trusting Gio week 14 here? It is a really good matchup against the Cowboys. They just led over 200 rushing yards to the Baltimore Ravens here. So I guess as a low end, top 24 running back, maybe, 25 to 30, I could see him finishing in there as a floor. So he's got a flex appeal in PPR leagues. And then Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. Are we starting these guys today against the Dallas Cowboys defense? I think I would rather have Tyler Boyd in my lineup. We know Higgins is dealing with a hamstring. I don't feel great about it. I'm trying not to use my Bengals if you need to, but maybe Tyler Boyd would be the one guy there, and then nothing really to trust here. So not a really fun game at all to watch, but start your Ezekiel Elliott's and your Amari Coopers, and I don't know if you guys have questions on the Cowboys, we can get to those. But then we'll get to the Chiefs and Dolphins after a couple questions here. Let me get back here to our chat room here. So Stephen Drakes, thanks for hanging out, man. Would you play Jamison Crowder full PPR? Also need 2 of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Cam Akers, and Kenyon Drake. So Cam Akers is going tonight. I like the opportunity for Cam Akers, but man, it's such a risky dice roll. We did just see him get 21 carries last night. If we think that they can if we think they can establish the run against the Patriots, that is the one spot where Patriots, I mean, that's like the one, it's not even really a weakness, but they are kind of average here against the running back. So I could see Cam Akers falling into the end zone tonight. But I guess before we get to Jamison Crowder, I wanted to just point out that I did see, so we know Denzel Mims is not going to play in this one. He has I don't know what it is, it's a family matter or something, but he was excused from the week. So he's not playing, which means Jamison Crowder and probably Brashad Perriman are the 2 guys to watch here. But he was limited today with a calf injury. Not sure what this is, so I'm a little bit hesitant to get him in there. I know he just had a really good 2-touchdown game, but I don't know. We'll have to see what his practice reports is tomorrow. If he's in full tomorrow, I'll feel better about it. But again, if he's limited, something to keep an eye on. And then Brashad Perriman also limited. So we're looking at a really banged up receiving core here for the Jets. I don't really know if I feel comfortable relying on the Jets. I get Crowder in full PPR. Makes a lot of sense. So if there's one Jet to start, it's probably Jamison Crowder. And then we also need 2 of Edwards-Helaire, Akers, and Kenyon Drake. So what do we think about Kenyon Drake? He's going to be going up against the New York Giants. And the Giants, let's see here. Where do I have that? We're going to be talking about this game, I think. We'll be talking about this game right after the Chiefs game here. So I do have Kenyon Drake as a flex option. Giants, that's one of the areas where you can get points against them, 25 points. And we've seen him score touchdowns. So I think Kenyon Drake is probably the one guy I feel the most comfortable with out of the 3 running backs here on the list. And then what do we do with Clyde Edwards-Helaire? I mean, if you started him last week, we were pretty disappointed that he didn't even see the field once. And now he gets the Dolphins. That could be a tougher opponent for him. I'm almost leaning towards rolling the dice on Cam Akers tonight, if that makes any sense with you. Otherwise, if you don't start Akers, you pretty much have to start Clyde. So I'm starting Kenyon Drake for sure. If you feel like Akers has a good opportunity tonight, again, he had 21 carries last week. I think I might like Cam Akers, man. And this could be a game, national television, where we really see what Cam Akers can do. So I think if you're comfortable with Akers, I'll roll the dice there. And then I don't know if Crowder's part of all these flex options here, but for now, I'm going to say we'll use Jamison Crowder. Hopefully he's full practice tomorrow. So yeah, it looks like Bobby Schmert is on the same wavelength there. Thanks for hanging out tonight, Bobby. Yeah, the Seahawks are getting a lot better on defense. I know Crowder just had a really good game, but it was the Raiders. And I don't know, the Seahawks defense is really tightening up of late. So I think if you did have better options besides Crowder, I don't know who we got there for you, Stephen Drakes, but potentially. But again, man, the Jets, do we want to bet on the Jets week 14, first round of the playoffs? There might be some better flex options there that we feel a little bit more comfortable about. So hopefully we can help you if you got more questions there. I'm going to do one more question here before we get to the Chiefs game. So Chiefs Dolphins is on the queue here. So Trey S., thanks for hanging out tonight. Full PPR, we're going to choose 2: Deontay Johnson, Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, and DeAndre Swift. Thanks. DeAndre Swift. Super nervous about DeAndre Swift. Let me see if he practiced in limited capacity today. So he's limited in back-to-back days. He's trending towards playing here. But I just keep going back to the quote that Adrian Peterson put out there that I think it was maybe a week ago, where he's like, Swift just hasn't looked like himself even in practice. I don't know if that's the case this week, but I'm a little bit hesitant to start. He's a great player. He's such a good player. Really good matchup against the Packers. But I'm also just nervous that Adrian Peterson's playing good football. They like Kerryon Johnson as well. Are we just back to this weird 3-way committee? It's his first game back in the lineup. So I think I'd rather wait and see what Swift in this I guess the share of snaps looks like first. I think I'm going Deontay Johnson against Buffalo, and I think I'm going Robert Woods tonight. I think Robert Woods has a pretty high floor. He has been pretty hot lately too, and he's gotten double-digit targets in 3 straight games. So I'm thinking Deontay and Robert Woods there. So you make it hard. You told me to start Landry over Scary Terry, which is so hard. Talking that way was Terry's only week on 15th. So did we do that? We started Landry over Terry. I think this was last night, maybe Jarvis. Yeah, we were looking at Landry last night and talking about that. But yeah, man, Terry's got the hard matchup. Landry's got a lot of things going for him right now in the last 2 weeks. And I know it's a tough matchup against Baltimore, but he's played pretty well against them, and he is the primary target. Both guys are the primary target there. So, but again, I get it. I don't feel good betting on 2 dud weeks out of Terry McLaurin. But at the moment right now, you're getting a pretty hot Cleveland Browns team. Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry's had his 2 best weeks of the year, and it's a game where they need to win, man. If they lose that game, they're going to let Baltimore kind of creep back into the playoffs there. So it's a tough decision nonetheless. But I guess the good news is I like both receivers quite a bit. So it's not like I don't think you're going to lose that much if you start either one there. So. But we'll get back to another question here. I think we got the Chiefs and the Miami Dolphins on the docket here. Let's quick look at the Chiefs practice report. I think we're in good shape here. Tyreek Hill got the full practice in. He did not practice yesterday, so I was curious about that. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, no worries here. Full practice. And then it's nice to see Sammy Watkins not on this list. Nobody's been ruled out, so the Chiefs are looking in pretty good shape here. And then on Miami side, a little bit lengthier of a list here. Myles Gaskin, questionable, just limited here. I think this is just a wear and tear thing. They know he's going to be the primary guy here. Looks like Salvin Ahmed not practicing, so that's really good news if you're wondering about Gaskin. We don't have to worry about him. And then the other running back here, DeAndre Washington will be the backup, but he's limited with a hamstring. So I still feel pretty good about Gaskin. And then nothing really else here. No Gesicki, no Devontae Parker. Tua still questionable with a thumb, but we're going to assume he plays. So really quick before we get to the start sits, fantasy points allowed. Some pretty good defenses in this one. The Chiefs do allow 13.2 fantasy points to the tight end, so you kind of like Mike Gesicki. If you don't have a better option, I think you're starting Mike Gesicki in this one for sure. But I don't know. They're both pretty top 10 defenses against the quarterback. 12 to 19th here in the running back department. Chiefs are very good against the wide receivers, so I'm kind of nervous about Devontae Parker. I might actually bump him down to a flex play here. And then, I don't know, Dolphins, you can be had against the receivers here. So luckily, it's pretty simple, I think. You're starting Mahomes, you're starting Hill, you're starting Kelsey. But what do we do with Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Sammy Watkins is a low-end flex play. I get it if you're not comfortable there, but he's been getting a majority of the snaps. I think he's had 6 and 7 targets the last 2 games. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has a game here. But he's a low-end flex play at best. I get it if you don't want to use him there. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, man. I'm hesitant to use him. I have a league where I have to decide between Clyde, Mike Davis, Raheem Mostert, and then probably, I don't know, there's one other guy I can't think of the top of my head right now. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire, hopefully he can catch some passes, boost our floor in PPR leagues. But again, he's barely a top 25 play, I think, in this one. Again, the Dolphins defense pretty stingy against the running back, so a little bit nervous there. I think I'm just safe with Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey, and I think start the Chiefs defense in this one. On the Dolphins side, Tua's just a quarterback 2 in Superflex. We're starting Myles Gaskin as an RB2 for sure. I think I feel pretty comfortable with Mike Gesicki. And then Devontae Parker is the one guy that's probably going to be on the fence for a lot of people. We do see that the Chiefs, man, they're the second best team against the wide receiver. I'm probably going to move Parker down to a flex play. And I think that's pretty much it. We don't really trust any other Miami Dolphins. But a lot of fun here. The Dolphins, man, they're what, 9-4 at the moment? Something like that, 8-4 maybe. Playing some good football, but I expect the Chiefs. Now that they know the Steelers have lost, 1 seed in their sights here, so the Chiefs are probably going to have a little bit resistance, but I think good things can happen there. So I'm just going to get back to some comments here and see what we're missing. Looks like, yeah, we got that one. Only issues Woods plays an hour and Swift plays Sunday. I think I'm playing Woods. I think Woods has a safe floor tonight. If you look at what Woods has been doing, especially the last 3 games, the numbers have been up, especially the targets. And I don't know, the way Bill Belichick was talking about Cooper Kupp the other day made me like, oh crap, he's going to take away Cooper Kupp, isn't he? But you see the targets here for Bob Woods, 15, 12, 11. Tons of receptions. I think he's going to be a pretty vital part of the game plan tonight. So for me, I think I'm rolling with Bob Woods in that one. What's going on, Marcos? Thanks for hanging out. For the question, 8-team league, half PPR, flex Chubb, Debo, AJ Brown. I'm going AJ Brown, man, against the Jacksonville Jaguars. That one seems really good spot there. Debo he popped up on the injury report today, and he just looked a little dinged up the other night there too. So I think I'm going Chubb, and I think I'm going AJ Brown in this one there. What's going on, Sport Dog? Thanks for hanging out. We just picked up the Saints defense, and I kept the Rams, so now I have 2. My question is, do you think I'll be okay using LA's defense for weeks 15, 16, and 17? Should I keep New Orleans, or will LA work? So definitely start New Orleans this week. You made a good move there, I believe. And then New Orleans plays the Chiefs next weekend, so like they're not even like in our. We kind of want to stay away from that, right? So let me just look at the Saints' schedule real quick. I'm just curious who they play after. I want to say they play. Is Atlanta on the list? They play the Vikings. That could be good for Dalvin Cook. I don't know if you play Week 17, but the Saints against the Panthers could be nice, assuming no Christian McCaffrey. And then let's look at the Rams' schedule real quick. So they're going to get. I can't really. They get the Jets next week. Great. They get the Seahawks. A little bit nervous about that. They did, they held the Seahawks to 16 points, and the Seahawks offense hasn't really been playing good lately too. So I'm not scared to do that here. I think I would roll with the Rams in this one. And then they play the Cardinals. I don't know if you play Week 17, but I'm definitely starting the Rams here. And then this one, just because it's going to be a tough divisional game in December, that should be kind of similar to what we see here. So I do think the Rams defense would be the play in this question here. Moving on to Aiden. Aiden, what's going on? My playoffs 2 weeks, can't change after tonight, so it makes hard to commit to Landry. The playoffs are so the lineup locks for 2 weeks. Dang, that's tough. So with that question, then we got to look and see what the Browns are doing next week, essentially. So Browns schedule. Browns get the Giants next week. Who do the Washington football team? Washington Redskins, I guess we'll click on here. They get Seattle. That could be a good Terry matchup. He doesn't have to worry too much about the safety. I mean, if you're nervous, man, go with your gut. I think go with Terry McLaurin. I think Terry McLaurin's the better receiver, so I don't mind. Especially the playoffs, man. I tend to lean to starting my studs. I think Terry McLaurin's a better receiver than Jarvis Landry, so I'm not going to blame you if that's the way you want to roll. Terry McLaurin, super good player. Maybe don't overthink it so much with Terry there. No problem, Bobby. Thanks for hanging out tonight. We'll get one more question in here before we get back to. I want to talk about it looks like we're going to talk about the Cardinals and the Giants next year. So we got Harris asking Myles Gaskin or J.D. McKissick, and this is half PPR and PPR. Half PPR and PPR. So if it's half PPR. I'm definitely going Myles Gaskin no matter what. Gaskin's probably got 3 or 4 catches in him minimum, so that's going to help boost his floor. He has really no competition for touches. With J.D. McKissick going up against the 49ers in a PPR league, I mean, the dude just caught all 10 of his targets last weekend for, 70 yards? So that looks really appealing. If we like the 49ers defense to kind of stuff Peyton Barber and kind of stifle that, I think I could see J.D. McKissick on the field a lot. We know Antonio Gibson's going to be out. But for me, again, this is kind of like what we just talked about with Aiden. I'm going to go with the better player. I think it's Myles Gaskin in a game where not really a lot of opportunity outside of Gaskin. He's going to be the primary back. He's going to get upwards of 16 to 20 touches. So I think I'm going to roll with the touches in this one, and I think it's Myles Gaskin. So one more. Yeah, it's Gaskin. I think it's Gaskin. Gaskin's a baller, guys. He's really good. Really good second-year back there. So before I get to another question, I want to cover the Cardinals and the Giants real quick. Let me just take a peek at the injury reports here. I saw Larry Fitzgerald's back, so that's good news actually for Kyler Murray as well. Looks like DeAndre Hopkins, it says non-injury here. It's got the neck here. I'm not sure. I'm too worried about that, so that's okay. Kenyon Drake, I don't know what this questionable with the hip thing is. I think he's just probably getting a day off and then to kind of ease back in. He should practice in full tomorrow. So not really concerned here. Everything looks pretty decent for the offensive side of the ball. And then the New York Giants, who are playing their best football of the season right now, really good here. Really good practice report. Looks like Daniel Jones is questionable with the hamstring. But if anything, they might just kind of leave him out there and just tell him, hey, man, if you don't have to open it up and run, don't do it. Hand the ball off to Wayne Gallman, and we'll see what happens there. So I do like the Giants chart there. Quickly looking at the fantasy points allowed. To the positions here, we see 2 green matchups. You can run on the Giants. They allow about 25 PPR points here. So again, Kenyon Drake. I do like Kenyon Drake. He scored some touchdowns for us recently here. And then the Cardinals are pretty generous. They're generous enough against the wide receivers, but do we really trust Daniel Jones and Sterling Shepard? And I don't trust Darius Slayton at all. I'm not going to use Golden Tate. So this is kind of a useless spot here. But then the thing that caught my eye is both teams are pretty solid against the tight end. I mean, we can't really trust Dan Arnold Even though he just caught 2 touchdowns last week, and if you're fishing for touchdowns, sure, maybe, but nothing I feel great about. And it looks like the Giants here, man. Giants are pretty good against quarterback. We just saw them shut down Russell Wilson in the Seahawks last week. That was impressive. But I still think Kyler Murray, you're going to use him. If you have a studded quarterback room, I could see Kyler Murray over or using someone else over Kyler Murray. If you have a guy like maybe Taysom Hill or maybe Justin Herbert against Atlanta, something like that. So if you have Kyler Murray questions, we can look at that later. Starting DeAndre Hopkins and I'm starting Kenya Drake. I can't trust Kirk. I can't trust Chase Edmonds, Larry Fitzgerald. I think at this point of the season, I'm less likely to trust players, and I'm pretty much just going to start the stud. So I think it's pretty simple for the Cardinals side. On the Giants, Daniel Jones maybe as a quarterback too in Superflex leagues. I don't feel great about it. I'd rather start like Jalen Hurts. If you got Jalen Hurts, I'd rather start Taysom Hill for sure. Cam Newton tonight over Daniel Jones, situations like that. I think Wayne Gallman has proven to us for 6 straight weeks now that he deserves to be listed as an RB2. So I'm gonna roll with that. Cardinals aren't the best against the running backs here. They have allowed a few guys to have some good games as well. If you're starting Evan Ingram and you don't have a good backup, I mean, you'd have to have someone like Robert Tonyan or maybe Rob Gronkowski. I think I'd do Gronk over Ingram. So I'm not excited about Ingram. Like we noted here, the Cardinals are pretty decent against the tight end. So I'm on the fence about Ingram. You'd have to have almost no backup, if you're going to rely on that. And then Sterling Shepard, just calling him out here as a flex. We have seen him get a lot of double-digit games. They didn't really throw the ball last weekend, but again, Cardinals, they let up some receiver points here. And then I'm not trusting either of these things. If you guys want to play a defense in this one, I could see this being a low-scoring game here. Giants are hot. This one's in New York too as well. So we'll get to the Vikings and the Buccaneers here after I get to some questions. Let me just see where we left off here. Looks like Sport Dog here. So last night on waivers, we picked up T.Y. Hilton. So I have a receiver to go with Rivers. Should I need Rivers in the playoffs just in case Herbert gets injured or something like that? So yeah, I like the Rivers T.Y. stack. We've been hot with the Philip Rivers calls the last couple of weekends, and his schedule, the next couple of games here. I'm kind of excited, man. I think the Colts are going to be a tough out when we get to the playoffs. Really excited. The offense is starting to hit their stride here. Yes, Myles Gaskin's good, ladies and gentlemen. So pick 4, Connor, thanks for hanging out. Pick 4, Myles Gaskin, Zeke, T.Y., Tim Patrick, Akers, Hollywood, Amari Cooper. I'm starting my studs. So Zeke, Amari Cooper. It's the Bengals. I know it's hard to do it, but they look pretty good against the Ravens. So I think that gives you some excitement there. So Cooper and Zeke, let's do those 2 for sure. I think Gaskins is number 3, and then we're looking at T.Y. Hilton, Tim Patrick, Cam Akers. I'm not excited about the Broncos offense, so I'm going to rule Tim Patrick out. I know he just caught 2 touchdowns last weekend, but he seems a little bit more hard to trust, especially with the Denver offense. I'm not a big fan of Drew Lock at the moment right now. So I think it's between T.Y. and Cam Akers. I could see T.Y. having a really good game against the Raiders. He's playing, again, some of his best football right now. Kind of like Jarvis Landry. He's had his best 2 weeks the last 2 games. I think I'm going to roll with T.Y. Hilton in game against the Raiders. The Raiders just almost lost to the Jets. They let Sam Darnold throw for 2 touchdowns and run for 1. Things looked really good against the Raiders. So T.Y. Hilton, I feel a little bit more trust with him. Cam Akers, I could see him having a nice game tonight, but again, Patriots defense, a little bit tougher matchup than the Raiders. So I think I'm going to go with T.Y. Hilton there, but I won't fault you if you want to sneak Akers in there. I think he could be successful, especially if he gets another 21 carries in this one. But give me Gaskin, Zeke, Cooper, and I think T.Y. in that one. Hopefully I did that. Hey, I'm out of the playoffs, but I'm still playing. What? Let me see here, Fabian. Thanks for hanging out tonight, Fabian. Good to see you. It says round 1, week 1. Why I didn't even make the playoffs. It says round 1, week 1. Is this on ESPN? I mean, are you in the consolation bracket? Are you able to filter it and see which bracket you're in? Maybe that could help figure us out here. Connor's asking, Titans or the Green Bay defense right now? Whew, I know it's the Jaguars, but the Titans, man, they just got housed. They just got housed by Cleveland. Baker Mayfield had his career best game, and we got Packers, man, the last 2 weeks playing really good football on the defensive side. I know both games were in Lambeau at home. Sometimes things happen weirdly in Detroit, but I don't know. I'm going to roll with Green Bay. They've been a little bit better on defense. They stifle quarterbacks. I mean, quickly here, let me just show you just to see what we're looking at here. So I know the Packers, yes, they allow running back points, but I mean they're pretty solid here against the rest of the positions. We know Kenny Galladay's probably not going to play. Packers defense, they had a pick six against Matt Stafford back in week 2, so I think I'm going to roll with the Packers a little bit more safer here, and then just to I guess drive this point home. I know it's Jacksonville, but I think James Robinson's in for a pretty good game. But look at this! Look at this beautiful matchup that we're going to talk about at the end of the night here. Tennessee and Jacksonville. We got 8 out of 8 green matchups. This is the second time all year that this has happened where I did this and we got 8 out of 8 green. So I'm not really trusting the Titans defense. They might get Adoree Jackson back, but we will go with the Packers in that one. So yeah, I think that's in the consolation bracket. So if you're in a league and if you're playing for draft order or if you're playing for something else there, I think that would be worth looking into. So I don't think it matters if you win or not, but if you're in a free league or if there's money involved or if you get paid out for wins still. I know like in one of my keeper leagues, every win you get, it's like $8 or something. So like even if we're in the losers bracket, we're going to try to win, but we're not in the losers bracket. So we'll worry about that another time here. Not really, you can say your best player that didn't make the playoffs. What's going on, ISO only? Thanks for hanging out. We made the playoffs. Hell yeah, congratulations. Big weekend, week 14. It's so fun. We got some really good primetime games on TV too. So who should we start, Lamar or Aaron Rodgers? Whew. Lamar looked good the other night, but it was also the Dallas Cowboys defense. Now he's playing the Cleveland Browns, who get Myles Garrett back. Rodgers, if it's not Mahomes, it's Rodgers for the MVP. I think I'm excited about Lamar Jackson and what he can do here, but man, I don't know how we bench Aaron Rodgers right now. Whew. At Detroit, he had a pretty good game against Detroit earlier this year. Let me just quick take a peek. I'm just curious. I think Rodgers had his best game of the year against Detroit. I might be wrong. Maybe that might have been the Aaron Jones game here, but Rodgers against Detroit. This was at home. Still had 2 touchdowns, 240 yards, and we still don't know if we can trust Lamar Jackson. But he did look good. He looked fresh. I think that maybe that week off might have helped him. So if you're feeling dangerous, Lamar Jackson could be a really nice play there, but I'm not going to bet against Rodgers right now. He's playing some really good football. So Les Berry, thanks for hanging out. We got a question here. Pick 2, Miles Sanders, J.K. Dobbins. Miles Sanders, James Conner, Damian Harris. Probably not going to trust Damian Harris tonight. Let me just pull up. Let's quick take a look at the opportunity report. This is on the fantasyfellowship.com, and I do this every week. I look back at the box scores and enter in the snaps here, but something that really caught my eye, Sony Michel logging 22 snaps here, 33% of the snaps, also gets 10 carries. Sure, the Chargers, they beat the Chargers 45-0, but Sony Michel could complicate some things for Damian Harris there, so I'm going to rule him out. James Conner, to me, man, seems like the best one. So I know sometimes I tell people like, hey, when a running back's coming back from an injury or something, I'm a little bit hesitant based on like snap counts. Are they going to ease him back in? But with James Conner, I'm not really worried about that. We know Benny Snell didn't look good the last 2 games here, so I think it's going to be back to James Conner, and he's the type of guy that a couple weeks off could do him really, really good. We know he's a big physical, a banger of a running back. So I like Conner up against Buffalo. That's the 1A here, and then Miles Sanders, J.K. Dobbins. Oh, do we trust this Philadelphia Eagles offense going up against the number 1 defense and the New Orleans Saints? Let me just pull this up real quick here. I think is that a noon game? No, I think that's an afternoon game. So where are our Saints and our Eagles? I'm excited to watch Jalen Hurts, but you scroll on down here, man, the Saints defense right now, number 1 against the running backs. I mean, what has Miles Sanders done the last couple games that's going to make us change our mind? I mean, maybe Hurts opens up the offense, but I would like Sanders if he was in a better matchup. I think I'm going to roll with J.K. Dobbins. He got the goal line touchdown last week, and I still think J.K. Dobbins, man, he's gonna impress us pretty soon here. So give me Conner, give me Dobbins. If you don't want to use Dobbins, I get it. Miles Sanders would be my next option if you don't want to do the sit my studs thing. But I'm optimistic about our boy J.K. Dobbins here. Take a question real quick from Harris. Pick 1, Myles Gaskin, Cam Akers, Wayne Gallman, Kareem Hunter, Jonathan Taylor. Whew, we got some heat here. Jonathan Taylor is heating up. Jonathan Taylor is heating up, going up against the the Raiders. You got Gaskin against the Chiefs. We've been talking Myles Gaskin up, pretty significantly tonight. So maybe we go Gaskin. Then you got Wayne Gallman against the Cardinals. I think we can rule out Akers and Hunt. I think it's between Gaskin, Gallman, Taylor. Let me just take a peek here. Let's see the snap counts for Taylor last week. So 48% snap share, 13 carries, 91 yards, catches all 3 of his targets, 44 yards and a touchdown. So that looks really good. And he's playing the Raiders. They just let Ty Johnson run for 100 yards and a touchdown. So that one, out of all the matchups, Jonathan Taylor has the best matchup. So if you're a believer in going into that kind of thinking, Jonathan Taylor has the best matchup. If you like volume, then it's Gaskin and Wayne Gallman. We know those guys are going to be the primary backs. Gaskin's probably a better volume play. He's going to get more snaps. And while we're here, we'll just take a peek at what these two teams did last week. So Myles Gaskin, again, he's going to have the higher snaps, 50 total snaps, 71%, 21 carries, 90 yards, and then he catches 2 targets. He had that one really sweet downfield catch for 51 yards there too. So Gaskin against the Chiefs, a game where they might have to play from behind. We could see him on the field a little bit more in those kind of situations. And then while we're here, let's just scroll on to the New York Giants. So Wayne Gallman, this was a game here where they were able to just establish the run and play small ball here. Colt McCoy only attempted 22 passes, and now they play the Cardinals. But Alfred Morris and Dion Lewis are going to steal some touches here. I do like Wayne Gallman, but I think I'm less excited about Gallman. So it's going to be between Gaskin and Taylor. I tend to lean into matchup. So we've been talking up Gaskin tonight. I think it's Taylor 1A, Gaskin 1B. But if you feel more comfortable with the touches, go with Gaskin. I hope that helps. I guess I laid out 2 scenarios. I'm choosing Gaskin or Taylor, but I really like Taylor's matchup. So I think I'm going to lean Taylor in this one. So Mr. What's going on? Thanks for hanging out tonight. We're going with Cam Akers tonight or Gaskin, who's questionable, Ayuk or Dobbins. Brandon Ayuk last night, the other night, he looked like a baller. Super excited about Brandon Ayuk, but they're going against the Washington football team, which is pretty good defense right now. I know that Gaskin's questionable, but I'm not too worried about his practice reports yet. I think that's more of them just being cautious, knowing, hey, he's our starting running back. We have a tough game this weekend. Maybe we shouldn't force him. So because this is going to be Sunday, and I'm hoping we see a full practice here for Myles Gaskin. If that makes you feel more comfortable, I'm going Gaskin for sure. He's going to be the guy that's getting the most opportunities. And then the other guy that I would consider, if you're nervous about Gaskin, I totally get it. Against the Chiefs. Chiefs are a fine defense. But Brandon Ayuk, man, he impressed me quite a bit the other night. So for me, it's going to be I would ignore Akers. Akers could have a good game, sure. But Gaskin's playing such good football. We know there's not a lot of questions with who's going to get the ball in the backfield for Miami. With Akers, he's in that, he's got a 3-way kind of situation going on. And he's also playing the Patriots. So a little bit hesitant there. So it's going to be Gaskin or Ayuk, and I would do them in that order. So if you're nervous about Gaskin, I think Ayuk's a pretty fine play there. Hey, thanks for asking, Eduardo. It's going pretty good. It's going really good. Really good week, actually. My sister just had her first child yesterday, so I just became an uncle. So it's been a really good weekend. I'm actually headed home to Green Bay tomorrow to go hang out. So I don't know, really good day, really good week. I hope everyone else's day is going really well as well. So Sport Dog 1000, thanks for hanging out again with your questions. We got 18 PPR. Been toying with running receivers Keenan Allen and either Bob Woods, T.Y. McLaurin, and saving my flex for Gaskin or one of the receivers. I don't use my wide receiver spot. If Gaskin is the solo, I'll go RB in my flex. So Keenan Allen against Atlanta, I think you're in the right track there. I do like Robert Woods. I think I like Robert Woods more than T.Y. or McLaurin. So I'm not nervous about Bob Woods tonight. I feel like he's a safe, especially since this is PPR. And we kind of looked at it. I don't know if you were in here earlier, but we looked at Bob Woods' numbers. The dude's seen like 15, 12, and 11 targets the last 3 games. I think he's going to be the guy. I feel more comfortable with Woods than Kupp tonight. So I like Keenan Allen. I like Bob Woods. And then if you want to, so I think we got to get, I don't know if we get one more receiver in there, or do you start 2 receivers and then the 1 flex? I'm totally cool with saving Gaskin for the flex, and then I think it's going to be between Ty and McLaurin for you. Again, Ty has that really juicy matchup against the Raiders, but again, Terry McLaurin, really good receiver, really good receiver. He had a bad week last weekend. I think he could redeem himself in this one, so I think that's going to be the question. I totally like saving Gaskin though for the flex, and then I think maybe later we'll make our decision on Ty and McLaurin there. Bobby Schmurder with the question: Justin Herbert or Tom Brady? Justin Herbert, man, last weekend. Don't know how I feel about it. He has a great matchup this week. Really, really good matchup. We're going to talk about this one. I think this is the game that we're going to talk about tomorrow night. It's going to be on tomorrow night's list. So Herbert with Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Hunter Henry. You scroll down and you look at this Atlanta defense. Atlanta's defense is playing a little bit better lately, but all the greens light up except the running game here. And Austin Eckler is an extension of the passing game, so I do think Eckler could have a good game. And with Tom Brady, man, the last we saw the Bucs offense, we weren't super excited about it. They are going up against the Minnesota Vikings, though, who are going to be without their stud linebacker Eric Kendricks. So I like Gronk in that one. I like Evans. I like Godwin. I like those pieces there. The good news is here, I think both quarterbacks are going to have a good game. If I'm being honest, I feel really safe with Tom Brady. Tom Brady's going to get you 2 touchdowns. Justin Herbert could get us 2. He could get us 0, like we just saw last weekend. So if you're trying to avoid risk, go with Tom Brady. If you want to go for the biggest ceiling with the best matchup, I think you go Herbert. But Tom Brady coming off of a bye. We just saw them lose to the Chiefs. I think they're gonna try to avenge this sour taste in their mouth. So I think I'm gonna go with the Hall of Fame greatest of all time quarterback Tom Brady. But it wouldn't surprise me if Herbert has a pretty good game there. So I'm gonna do Bambo's question here, and then we're gonna cover. I want to get back to the schedule. I think we're talking Minnesota Tampa Bay next. Sweet. Let me just pull that up here. All right, yeah, we're talking Minnesota and Tampa Bay next. But we got a question here real quick from Bambo. The number 1 seed in my league is playing the 4th seed. If he wins, he would bump out the 4th seed, and that will allow me to pop up at the 4th seed. But since my team is so good at the 5th seed, the 1 seed is benching a starter, so he won't have to play me round 1. Very upset, mainly because it's against the rules, and the commissioner doesn't care because he also doesn't want to play me in the playoffs. So 120 down the drain. Hold on, let me soak in this here. So the 1 seed in my league is playing the 4th seed. If he wins, he would bump out the 4th seed, and that would allow me to pop in at the 4th seed. So this isn't the playoffs yet, right? So you're probably last week of the regular season here, Bam. And the 1 seed's playing the 4th seed. So if the 4th seed, interesting. So we got some collusion going on here, huh? My seed, so the 5th seed, the 1 seed is benching starters that have to play me round 1. So he's essentially throwing the game so that the 4 seed gets locked in, assuming only 4 teams make the playoffs here. Hopefully karma hits him. And no matter what he does, the outcome still happens for you to slide into there. Yeah, that's frustrating. That sucks, Bam. I'm going to get to Eduardo's question in a couple minutes here. I did want to cover. We'll get back on schedule. I'm going to cover the Bucs and the Vikings, and then we're going to get into Eduardo's questions. So Vikings and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I did mention that the Minnesota Vikings are probably going to be without their best coverage linebacker, one of the best linebackers in the league. That is as well. And Eric Kendricks, he hurt himself in pregame warmups last weekend. He's probably not playing. Back-to-back DNPs here. Anything else that sticks out here? Alexander Madison's still going to be out with an appendix situation. Looks like Kyle Rudolph not practicing in 2 games, and then you get Irv Smith coming back here. So that's something to monitor if you're digging for tight ends to stash. Irv Smith's back, Kyle Rudolph probably out, and then everyone else is just kind of questionable here. On Tampa Bay side, they're going to be coming in healthy off the bye. Just a couple guys questionable here. I'm not worried about Chris Godwin. He had the finger pins removed out of his index finger. I think he had surgery on Tuesday, didn't practice Wednesday, full practice today. Not concerned there. Not sure what's up with this Mike Evans hamstring. Did not practice today. He was limited yesterday, did not practice today. We'll be interested in this report for tomorrow here for sure. So we'll kind of monitor that here. But looking at the Vikings and the Bucs, fantasy points allowed at positions here, this is the one that sticks out. I think I've been telling everyone Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and then here's Rob Gronkowski, because even though the Vikings, I mean, they're 15th against the tight end, but their best coverage linebacker is out. And then I did want to point out here, this is something that I noticed because they played the Jacksonville Jaguars last week, and the Jacksonville Jaguars tight ends combined for quite a bit of points here. They didn't score touchdowns, but you see Tyler Eifert caught all 6 of his targets, so 6 for 45. That's 10 point, that's 10.5 points there. Second tight end James O'Shaughnessy caught 4 for 41, and then nothing here. So the tight ends O'Shaughnessy and Eifert combined for 10 catches and 86 yards. I think Gronk's going to be one of my favorite DFS plays this weekend in this whole Tampa Bay game, man. A lot of potential in both secondaries. A lot of potential. Bucks are pretty stingy against the running backs here, so I think Dalvin Cook, if he's going to do anything, he needs to do it early in the ground game or in the receiving game. I might even move Kirk Cousins up to a quarterback one streaming option. I like the way Kirk is playing, so I think I'm going to start Tom Brady and Kirk Cousins this week. You're starting Dalvin Cook, you're starting Jefferson, you're starting Thielen, Evans, Godwin for sure. And I think if you have Gronk, I think you got to try to find a way to get Gronk in your lineup this week, guys. And then the wild card is Ronald Jones. If you guys have questions on Ronald Jones, we can get to those in the comments. But I do think Ronald Jones coming off the bye. The Vikings are decent against the run, but I think there might be a shift more back to some play action, run the ball, establish the run kind of things. So Ronald Jones, a fringe running back too. I could see him having a good game there. Not using the Vikings defense. Tampa Bay's a maybe, but we just saw them get torched against the Chiefs here with that secondary. So I'm Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, man. This is a monster duo here. So I think I'm getting nervous about this Bucks D. We're not going to use Rudolph, BC Johnson, or Irv Smith. Antonio Brown, not excited about it. Leonard Fournette, not excited about it. So for me, this is a start your studs in this one. And as far as noon games go, this is the one that has my attention the most. Because I'm in the Midwest, this game's going to be on TV because it's Minnesota. But both teams are playoff teams. Minnesota's the seventh seed in the NFC right now. If they lose ground here, that could open up room for the Cardinals, for the 49ers, for the Bears. There's a lot of potential riding on this game here. So really fun noon game there. We'll get to the Broncos and the Panthers, but I want to double back here some of these comments. Eduardo, thanks, man. No problem. I appreciate it. Pick one RB, one flex. Jonathan Taylor, Myles Gaskin, Mike Davis, if CMC is out, Brandon Ayuk, and Deebo Samuel. So we have to do this Ayuk and Deebo Samuel situation. Let me just let's just pull up Brandon Ayuk. The reason I like Ayuk right now is Deebo's banged up right now. He's on the injury report. He looked a little gassed and unconditioned at the end of the game the other night. I did notice that. But Brandon Ayuk lately, his last handful of games, I wonder if we just rule this game out. I think we can just ignore that. But his stretch of games here it's been phenomenal. So I really do think Ayuk is the safer play here. And you like the targets, you like the yards, you like the touchdowns right now. I think Ayuk is the one guy for a flex position, but pairing him up with one running back and one flex call here, Taylor, Gaskin stick out. I like Mike Davis if Christian McCaffrey's out, but I'm not super excited about it. I think Jonathan Taylor's matchup's really nice. So I think I'm going to do Jonathan Taylor as my one running back, and then it's going to be between Gaskin and Brandon Ayuk. And I think at this point it's Brandon Ayuk, but we've been talking Myles Gaskin up a lot here. So maybe the correct call is start Jonathan Taylor, Myles Gaskin, and leave Ayuk and Samuel on the bench in a tough matchup against Washington. I think that makes sense. I hope that helps. I feel really good about Taylor and Gaskin. With Ayuk and Deebo, it's kind of like a who's who. Like we don't really know. So if it helps, the guys I like are Taylor, Gaskin, and Ayuk. If you have any strong internal feelings about any of those matchups, or you want to dive into those matchups, I think those would be the three I'm looking at. So Kevin, thanks for hanging out. So I have DeAndre Hopkins and DK Metcalf for my prime receiver positions, but for my flex, should I pick up Deontay or Robbie Anderson or Gaskin? Woo! You can pick those guys up. Is this like an 8-team league, a 10-team league? Holy crap! So Hopkins and Metcalf, great plays. Deontay Johnson's playing some great football right now. He's probably the best. He's probably the one receiver I would want to start on the Steelers. I think I feel pretty good about that. And then looking at Robbie Anderson and Myles Gaskin, I mean, Gaskin should be owned. He should be owned. And running backs are hard to come by. And if you're starting a flex, Robbie Anderson this weekend, Curtis Samuel's going to be out. And so is DJ Moore. So Robbie Anderson looks like a volume guy. We know AJ Bouye is not going to be playing in this one. So I think Robbie Anderson's the one guy I want to start this week. These are all really good options here. I think for long-term value, though, Deontay and Gaskin are probably the guys to play with. And I think just because running backs are so scarce, I think I'm going to go with DeAndre Hopkins here, Hunter Henry or Robert Tonyan. Tonyan against the Lions looks pretty good, but the Lions are a little bit stingy against tight end. I know Robert Tonyan's playing really good football, but Hunter Henry against the Atlanta Falcons, I think that one, to me, it makes a little bit more sense on paper. Cooper Kupp, Kiki Cutie standard. I'm going with Kiki. Bill Belichick's just been talking too much game about Cooper Kupp to make me a little bit hesitant there. I'm more excited about Kiki Cutie in that one. Is it good to go to tight end? What's this question? Is it good to go to tight end? I'm not sure what you're asking here, Harris. Cam Akers or Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Give me Cam Akers. I'm nervous about this one. I don't feel great about either running back, because they have questions. But Cam Akers, man, he's taking the touches over, I think. So in this situation, I'm going to go with Cam Akers. I am a Wisconsin resident. I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and yeah, I'll be headed to Green Bay this weekend. That's where my family's from. So, would you start Mike Davis over Gaskin or Taylor? The last we've seen from Mike Davis hasn't been exciting. I know it's Denver. I know it's a decent matchup, but I feel better about Gaskins and Taylor. So I think I'm gonna stick with Gaskin Taylor. I know it's Mike Davis and Christian McCaffrey's out, but when we've seen Mike Davis the last handful of games, that McCaffrey just hasn't really been producing. So I think Taylor and Gaskin are the hot plays. If D-Hop doesn't play, is Giants defense good this week? Giants defense is a good play even if Hopkins plays. I think they've proven themselves as a pretty solid defense. But yeah, if DeAndre Hopkins is out, start the Giants defense, man. Those people from my flex are in my bench. LOL. We have 8 people in our league. That's nuts. Should I pick? Oh, okay. So yeah, I didn't see the word pick up. So should I pick Deontay Johnson, Robbie Anderson, or Myles Gaskin? Deontay Johnson, man, against Buffalo. If you want to get some skin in that game on Sunday Night Football, Deontay Johnson feels pretty good. I'm not nervous about Buffalo's defense. Robbie Anderson, it feels good for Robbie Anderson, so I like that too. Gaskin's the safest play if you want to just take the free points. I think Gaskin is a free double-digit point. So boom bust is Deontay and Robbie. I feel more comfortable with Deontay playing right now. But if you want the safe points, lock in the safe points, I think Gaskin's probably the call there. So there we go. Is it good to go to tight end? It really depends on your options there, Harris. I would need to ask who your 2 tight ends are in that situation. But we are. I'm going to get back to that screen share. My bad. So we're going on almost 53 minutes here. We got almost time to get to this this game here. So I'm going to quick rifle through. If you guys don't mind, I'm just going to quick run through this Broncos-Panthers game. I can maybe hang out for maybe 10 more minutes. Drew Lock, quarterback 2, maybe. Teddy Bridgewater, I'd rather start Teddy Bridgewater over him. Melvin Gordon can be a fine high-floor PPR RB2. Mike Davis is a volume play RB2. Hasn't looked the greatest the last couple games without Christian McCaffrey, so if you can get him in, I would get him in, but I don't think he's a must play. I'm not looking out to go get him in DFS either. Robbie Anderson, I think, is the must play of this entire game. Like, he's the one. Like, we were just talking about Robbie Anderson here with Kevin's options, and I do think Robbie Anderson is a must play this weekend. But who knows? This Broncos Panthers game, it's kind of a stinky game. Both teams aren't really excited. So for me, one of my rules is I want to play teams. I want to play players on good teams with something to play for. So that's why I think Deontay Johnson and Gaskin would be the question or the answer to the question from Kevin in that one earlier there. So Broncos, Tim Patrick, a dicey call there at receiver. could get a touchdown. You could also get, 3 for 40 or something like there. So I don't feel great about it. Noah Fant is probably the one Bronco that I think I'm going to try to get in my lineup. It's tight end, so everyone's kind of struggling there. I do think you can start the Panthers defense. Drew Lock turnovers, picks, fumbles. Melvin Gordon's been fumble prone this year. The Broncos only average like 18.5 points per game. So I do think the Panthers defense is a sneaky start there. And then nobody else here we're going to rely on. If McCaffrey plays, yeah, you're playing McCaffrey. Don't worry about that. And then before I finish with the rapid fire questions there in the chat room, Titans Jaguars fantasy bonanza. Is this going to be the highest scoring game total of the week? Ryan Tannehill, you're getting Ryan in the quarterback one league. You got to get Ryan Tannehill in there. You're starting Derrick Henry. AJ Brown and Corey Davis have proven that they belong in our lineups. I know AJ Brown's dealing with an ankle injury last week, but he hasn't practiced today, so I'm expecting him to practice tomorrow. Huge opportunity for AJ Brown and Corey Davis this week. So try to get those guys in your lineups if you can. On the Jacksonville side, James Robinson's the only legit must start. If you're fishing for quarterback 2 points, Mike Glennon, maybe a touchdown or two. DJ Chark looks really good in this one. So he's a top 30 receiver play. And then Tyler Eifert, if you need to just kick the rocks at tight end, like we pointed out earlier, 8 out of 8 green matchups. This is the one where I think fantasy points can be had. Jacksonville's defense so bad, Titans defense so bad. But again, James Robinson's the best play here. Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, Corey Davis, Ryan Tannehill, pretty safe there. So that's going to do it for, I guess, all the games on the schedule here. We're going to kick off on those games tomorrow night. But I did want to finish up with some questions here. Let me just quick check something real quick here. So where did we leave off here? So let's see. Yeah, man, no problem. Thanks for hanging out. We'll talk to you soon. Eduardo's asking Robert Tonyan or Evan Ingram. Give me Robert Tonyan in this one. Again, you're connected to Aaron Rodgers. I know I kind of took someone else over Robert Tonyan just a bit ago here. I can't remember what that question was. Oh, he asked me Hunter Henry or Robert Tonyan. That was Kevin earlier. But the thing with Robert Tonyan, not going to be a volume guy, but he's very efficient. You see 4 receptions out of 5 targets, 5 for 5, 5 for 5, 3 for 4, 3 straight touchdowns. So like if you just take away the touchdowns here, this is kind of your floor. 3 for 33. So PPR, that's 6.3. 4 for 39, that's 7 point. He's somewhere in that 5 to 8 point range if he doesn't score a touchdown. But you're fishing for touchdowns here, and you're looking in the right place with Aaron Rodgers. We don't know what Daniel Jones is going to be doing, so I think I'm rolling. For me, it's Packers offense versus the Giants offense, and Packers are going against the Lions. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Packer fan. It just makes sense. So appreciate it. No problem. Thanks for the subscription, Eduardo. Brandon Ayuk or Jamison Crowder? Give me Brandon Ayuk all day and twice on Sunday. Not trusting the Jets. Brandon Ayuk, much better player. I know Crowder just scored 2 touchdowns, but the thing with Jamison Crowder, I mean, the history of Jamison Crowder, man. Here, let me actually spell his name correctly. So Jamison Crowder, just the history of Jamison Crowder, he's a really risky player. So I just want to show you guys his game logs. He doesn't really, he started off this season hot, so he's actually playing more consistent this season. 21.7 last week, but then even last year, I mean, he put together a good stretch here. He had a good stretch here, but it's really feast or famine here. So like the range of outcomes is just huge. Whereas with Brandon Ayuk, I mean, we just kind of looked at this a little bit ago. So I do think Brandon Ayuk is, to me, he's the more exciting player. 49ers offense isn't that much better than the Jets offense right now, but you see with Ayuk lately, weeks 5 and 6, his bad game was 7.4, 9.2, and then he has just as much upside here. So higher floor, just the same upside here. So I think I'm going to go with Brandon Ayuk in that one there, Harris. So I think I got everyone's questions in there. And let me just check something real quick. So I can hang out for a few more minutes if you guys have more questions. I appreciate everyone in the chat rooms. This has been a really fun show for me tonight. I appreciate all the likes, the comments, all the subscribers. That's been really fun for me lately too. But yeah, tomorrow night, 6 o'clock live, we will go. I'm going to be doing the 6 o'clock show. We're going to cover, let's see here, we're going to cover the Colts Raiders, Jets Seahawks. We'll go over the Packers Lions. We'll go Saints Eagles. We'll go Falcons Chargers, Washington 49ers, Steelers Bills, and the Ravens Browns. So we got a good schedule for you guys tomorrow night. If you guys are not doing anything Friday night, come hang out at 6 o'clock Central Time. And then Saturday night, I'll be going live as well, too. I think that the last 2 Saturdays I've gone live, and a lot of people have liked it and got a lot of questions. So Saturday night, that's just going to be a question-only show. We'll look at some of the news blurbs and catch up on anybody that's in or out kind of thing. But Saturday night, 6 p.m., that's when we'll kind of get it's your show. I'll answer all your guys' questions in the chat room, and it's all about you guys there. So let's see. I did want to pull up while we're here. We'll just kind of finish for a few minutes. We got a football game coming on soon. I'm so excited, super excited. So I'll go over some of these notes here. It looks like we just got a quick question. So Crowder or Samuel? So is this Harris? Are we assuming you have Ayuk, Samuel, and Crowder all on the same team here? In that case, so we do know, I mean, we're going to be talking about this game a little bit more in depth tomorrow night, but we do know that, where is that game? So, I mean, this is going to be a tough battle. I don't expect a lot of points in this one, but with the 49ers, I mean, it's going to be Debo and Ayuk getting the ball, and they're both really exciting young players. With Jamison Crowder, you're also, I guess you're both attached to Sam Darnold and Nick Mullins. But I do think here's how I'm going to think about this. If you need 2 of the 3, and we would like, assuming this is PPR as well, you would like both, double digits. So you want a minimum 20. You would like to shoot for at least 25 to 30 here. So I do think if you want to be safe, maybe it makes sense to play Ayuk and Samuel as a tandem, and then just say, hey, I'm going to get 25 points out of maybe one of these guys or both of these guys. I think both guys have a pretty high floor. So if you want to look at it that way, I think Ayuk and Samuel could, tag team for a pretty nice game. Let's just look and see what they did the other night here. But this was a little bit easier matchup against Buffalo. But we see for targets, they both had 9 targets, 6 for 73 for Samuel, so that's 13.3 in a PPR league, and then 5 for 95 and a touchdown out of Ayuk. So assuming Samuel and Ayuk, if you play those 2 together, you'll get 1 touchdown, hopefully. If there's going to be a touchdown thrown, it's got to be to one of those guys, I think. So Samuel Ayuk, the tandem there makes sense to me. And then we're also watching the practice reports for Jamison Crowder. Again, he popped up today with a calf injury. I did want to while we're here, let's just check out the Jets. So Sam Darnold threw the ball 23 times last week. Crowder did get 7 targets, 5 for 47 and 2 touchdowns. You take away the touchdowns, that's a 9.7 floor. So, I mean, all these guys have similar floors. And I guess Sam Darnold he's going to be without Denzel Mims. So I'm kind of talking myself into Jamison Crowder here. This is a tough question, starting 2 of these guys, because if I tell you to start Crowder, and then we have to do Ayuk versus Samuel here. If it's Ayuk versus Samuel, I like Brandon Ayuk right now. So I don't know. I'm kind of talking in a big circle here, so I don't know if that helped at all, but I'm not opposed to starting Ayuk and Samuel. If you just kind of say in your mind, I don't care, if one of them gets 7 points as long as the other one gets 20 kind of situation, or maybe they both have really good games. I could see that as an outcome as well. But maybe we'll monitor the report here for Jamison Crowder. But the Seahawks are playing good football. It's in Seattle. The Jets are the Jets. I think I'm going to do that San Francisco tandem there that I was talking about. So we're just finishing up here. I'm just looking real quick for any more notes that might have caught my eye. Terry McLaurin, full participant today. Again, Brandon Cooks is limited right now, so we'll see what he can do. T. Higgins limited. So I don't know what this is. Debo with the foot. It looks like he's got a bruise. I'm not concerned about it, but again, he's a little bit dinged up. So if you're nervous about him getting hurt again. Maybe that makes more sense. I use Crowder there for you. Gurley limited, Kiki Cutie full. And then I don't know what this is with Crowder as well. He did have the calf injury. I brought that up a little bit ago, but he's going to be the go-to receiver, like without Mims and Rashad Perriman dinged up as well. Crowder's a safe volume play. Just looking around here. I know Julio didn't practice, but this popped up today. Josh Jacobs gets a limited practice in. This makes him a potential play against the Colts. This could be really interesting here. So I'm probably going to take I'm probably going to be taking a lot of Josh Jacobs questions tomorrow. But yeah, then I don't know. We're just looking at some other things here. AJ Brown not practicing, but he really doesn't practice on Thursday, so I'm not overly concerned with that. Kenyon Drake limited. DeAndre Hopkins did not practice today. We'll see we'll know better with Friday's report there. Friday's the biggest, most important day for practice reports here, so I'm not going to worry too much until tomorrow's reports, but I don't know. I think that's going to do it for an hour and 5 minutes here. We got a football in like 10, 15 minutes, so I'm going to get ready for that. Thank you guys in the chat room for hanging out. I did want to say, it looks like we got a few guys in here. If anyone's interested in doing a free fantasy basketball league, I'm doing a free 10-team league on ESPN. I'm going to offer $25 to first place if you guys just want to hang out. We're doing a little bit more fantasy basketball content coming up after football. So if you're interested, you can let me know on Twitter or message me in the comments or whatever. But also you can email me at basically thefellowkgb@gmail.com. So if anyone's interested in fantasy basketball, hit me up. I got the links everywhere and the stuff below. So I don't know. Thank you guys so much for your time. Good luck tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.